Hey, Mike here with Canadian Musician. Right now at the CCMA, Canadian Country Music Association offices in downtown Toronto. With me and back after, well, certainly not back after a hiatus of working, but back after a bit of a 5-year hiatus in music is Mackenzie Porter. Friends, or I should say subscribers of Netflix may recognize her. Mackenzie is a, I guess, what would you call it, double-barreled star or whatever, actress currently starring in the hit Netflix series Travelers, has also been a regular on the AMC series Hell on Wheels, but she also released her debut album back in 2014, I believe, yeah. And arrived on the country music scene in a big way. Received a slew of CCMA awards as well as a Juno nomination back then. Since then, like I was just saying, acting has been on the front burner, but you're now returning with new music. So, Mackenzie, I guess just first of all, thanks a lot for joining me. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And through a non-public link, I heard a couple of the new songs that that you got coming out, Drive Thru and About You. But first off, when are people going to be able to finally hear some new music from you?
They're going to be able to hear it this Friday, November 30th. Both songs come out. And then in the new year, we have 2 more songs dropping. And then a couple months later, 2 more. So it's funny, like you said, it seems like I've been just acting. But since my debut, independent record came out, I moved to Nashville and signed my publishing deal and then signed my record deal there. And I've actually just been songwriting for 3 years steady, kind of. So when I'm not filming, go home right away. And even when I am filming, we would fly songwriters up to Vancouver where we film. And, it just took a while to write those songs and to get into those writing rooms and kind of develop in a new and a bigger way in Nashville. So that's kind of what I've been doing in the background, while I'm filming.
It's cool. Releasing the songs in kind of groups of pairs over, separated by weeks or a couple months or whatever it is. It's an interesting way, and it's not a, totally unusual way in 2018, 2019 to be releasing music. But for you, I'm wondering what that juxtaposition is like, having released your last album in 2014 when obviously streaming existed, but in these 5 intervening years, it's really transformed the industry and all matter of ways that artists have to go about releasing music, promoting themselves, thinking about the economics and all that kind of stuff. So I'm interested from you, what's the big differences you're seeing between releasing an album in 2014 and releasing new music now?
I think that people are definitely digesting music faster and maybe not sticking on an album as long as we used to. So, that is Spotify and all the streaming services. So that's kind of why we are doing it 2 by 2 by 2, so I have content that's dropping every month or every other month to stay on the top of people's minds and just to keep being oh yeah, here's a couple more songs, so it is different, and I think it's really good because a lot of independent artists can blow up in a massive way without radio on streaming services, and then that can get you on radio, which is obviously the end goal for everybody. So I think it's just really cool, and there's more ways to get to the top now because of that.
Does it put more, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but just more attention on each individual song? Because it used to be you release an album, you pull out the 2 or 3 or 4 singles, and those are really what you're pushing, and they kind of lead the way for the entire body of work. Now are you finding your kind of, the idea is to be putting more attention on each individual song, and does that kind of put pressure on having a more complete body of work, I guess you could say?
Yeah, I don't know if it puts more pressure on it. I think it gives the opportunity for each song to be highlighted a little bit more because, sometimes people don't get to track 8 or 9 on an album. They don't go all the way. So when you're doing 2 by 2, they will listen to 2 songs, So, I think it's just a really good, we use, my label also uses it as a tool to see what songs are reacting because you can see, how many people listen to that song, and not only that, you can see if they replayed it or saved it to a playlist or skipped it 30 seconds in. You get a lot of data from streaming services, which I think can help an artist because then you're not blindly putting out a single. You're being hey, this is the single, and we also already have 10 million streams on it, and it's proof that it's working and it's a hit.
Is there pros and cons to that in the sense that it can be extremely useful information to kind of inform the decisions you're making, both career-wise but also songwriting-wise? But is there I guess, a danger of writing to the algorithms, so to speak?
Probably. You know, I'm hoping just to like only use it in like a positive sense. But yeah, you know, maybe a song that would have done well on radio isn't reacting online as well. You know, I'm not sure exactly how that all works, just because it is a little bit new, because my last body of work, we had it, but it wasn't as big as it was, you know. So yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know.
For the last album, did you go down to Nashville to write and co-write on that one as well?
I did. I wasn't living there, and you know, it was very like intro level of songwriting, I think. You know, I was new to town, and because I wasn't living there, I wasn't getting into the same kind of rooms. And although all the writers on my first record are amazing, and it was, you know, a great first step for me. But to get into those like top level rooms, and that being said, like some of the writers who were on the first record are now top writers in Nashville. But it just takes time, and yeah, it's once you're surrounding yourself with such like high quality of writers and in amazing rooms and getting amazing writes, you just get better. And I think that only helps you to A, get the songs you want, and B, become a better writer yourself.
In that sense, maybe this is almost an existential thing, but like how's Mackenzie Porter, the artist in 2014, now having the experience, not just in music, but in acting? That career's more than taken off in these intervening years. So as a person, but particularly as an artist, as a writer, as a performer, how's Mackenzie Porter now different than the Mackenzie Porter that was introduced to people in 2014?
I think I was a lot more naive back then. You know, I definitely like really believed in the record, and that's a good thing, I think. But now I look back, I'm like, oh, like, not that I'm not proud of it. It was where I was at the time. I just feel like I've grown so much since then. And, you know, like, just like I said, like being in Nashville and just being around the team that I'm with and being around the writers that I'm with, like, you just get better and you have no choice. I've heard that quote that like surround yourself with people who are better than you. And I take that in a way that like, she's a better songwriter than I am right now, and I'm gonna like learn everything I can from her, you know? Yeah.
Like, in that whole co-writing thing, like everyone approaches it differently and just reacts to it differently. And you know, some people kind of, it'd be natural to kind of put up that wall and be like, I don't want my songs to be too influenced by everyone else. I want them to be my songs, be my voice, my thoughts, that kind of thing. And other people are like, hell, if it's a good song, it's a good song. I'm happy to put my voice on it or whatever. I just wonder what your mindset is around that.
I really like the process of co-writes. I love bouncing ideas off of other people, and I think like, I don't know, sometimes you don't know if it's a cool idea, and then together you decide that it is, or you have an idea and somebody else can take it to the next level. So I'm very happy to like share my ideas or get help with songwriting. Like I know that it's a muscle and I need to work it out, and I'm gonna totally like learn from the best of the best.
The acting, like, I don't know in your head if you can even separate the acting career from the music career. They're both obviously arts-centric performance careers, but do they influence each other? Does the work you do in acting in any way influence your music and vice versa? Even if is there any shared skills, a mindset, anything like that?
I think like the biggest thing between the two is I've really used my skills from like being on set and being in kind of like uncomfortable situations, like whatever it is. If it's like a makeout scene, like with some random that I don't know, I have to like find comfort in that and sell it. And so I feel like I've been, or crying in front of like 500 people watching, or not 500, but like 100 crew. And so I've kind of like broken down those walls of feeling embarrassed or like ashamed of everything. Like I'm just gonna do it. And I feel like that has been what's helped me in co-writes is I'm not super embarrassed of like a bad idea, because you have to kind of attempt 100%. Like I feel like it's better to like fall on your ass if you went like 110 than to go like 70% and look like you're not really going for it. So yeah, so I feel like it's helped me like break down a bunch of my like defense mechanisms.
How do you juggle the two careers? Like, is because acting took off the reason it's been 5 years since the last album, and that just took precedence? Do you think of one being secondary to the other?
Well, right now I'm definitely just focusing on music, and I will say that maybe the TV show slowed down the process a little bit, but I do think I needed to develop more, and I needed to like really work my way up in Nashville, and even to, you know, finally get the team that I'm surrounded with by now. Like that just, I wish you could do that overnight, but you can't. It's all about relationships, and it's about, you know, going to shows and meeting a new writer, and then you got to wait a couple months to like, you know, ever get into the room with that person. So that just takes a lot of time. The one thing the show maybe has like slowed down is my availability to do stuff like this and to go on tour. So next year I'll be touring and I'll have more time to do everything. Yeah.
Were you able to perform much in those intervening years, or if not, were you missing it?
I really missed it. But I was doing a lot of stuff in Nashville. So I would do like writers rounds and the Bluebird and the listening room and like kind of like all those places. But I'm so ready to like do big shows and do festivals and like, you know, play in front of like not songwriters and not industry people, because I've done that a lot, which is probably the scariest thing. Like the fans just love the music and they're just partying and having a good time. But like industry is just like sits there and it's just like, that's the hardest room to perform in front of.
I have to admit, because like in this job, I've been at a lot of, you know, industry showcase type events, and the worst are shows that are only open to industry. I have to say, I always feel bad for the artists that are doing those shows, because there's nothing worse than a bunch of like media and industry delegates sitting there with crossed arms.
I think like industry like is so desensitized because they're constantly surrounded by it, and you know, we're fans and just country listeners. They're just there to have a good time and like I said, like party or hang with their friends or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I love playing in front of people I work with and stuff like that too, but I would definitely prefer the fans. I mean, I think everybody would, you know.
Naturally. So what's the, you've talked a bit about it here, but you know, new songs come out this Friday. Sorry, remind me again about the release schedule of the following songs. And do you have them all kind of in the can ready to go, or are you going to be releasing as you write?
So we cut 5 songs right now, and then we'll start cutting more in the new year. So I think we don't have the exact date, but the next 2 will drop in February. So, and then probably a month after that, the next 2. And I think it'll just equal a full album eventually.
Music videos, I'm guessing, something that comes more naturally to you than it does to most musical artists. Like, how does that fall in you and your team's strategy, particularly when you're, you know, essentially, are you releasing a new album or a new video, I should say, with each pair of songs, and how does that kind of help push that momentum? Yeah,
so we're definitely releasing on Friday 2 lyric videos. One I'm in, and the other one, actually both I'm in. But as far as like the first actual music video, that probably won't come out till the new year once the single hits radio. But it is something that like I feel very comfortable doing. And that's obviously another thing that like acting has helped me sell my music videos and like make it realistic, and I love doing them and I love writing them. Every music video that I put out before, I wrote the concept with the director, David Tenniswood, and I just love that part of it. I mean, I love all aspects of like starting from the bottom, like writing, to like going to the studio, to touring, to all of the like social media, all of that stuff. Like I love every aspect of being an artist.
And of course, I don't know if many people have made the connection. Maybe they have. Your fans probably have. But music's kind of a family business for you guys. Your brother, Mackenzie Porter, won one of the first, I think it's the second season of Canadian Idol back in 2004. I'm wondering, just not just him going through the show and winning it and that, but really just being a witness to his career from that point forward. Not many people have someone so close that's gone through this industry. Wonder how witnessing Kaylin's career has, I guess, just maybe informed the way you've approached your own.
Yeah, I mean, when Kaylin won, I was only like 13, so I didn't really know that like you could have like a big career in music at the time. I was acting at that time, But it really has helped a lot, because he knows, like, there's certain times that I've gotten, like, really bummed about, like, something not working out, and he's been through that, and he's like, I know that feeling so much, and, you know, it always feels better in, like, next week, or just he listens to all my demos and, like, helps me pick, or at least has, like, an opinion about, like, oh, I love this song, that would be cool, I think people would really react to that. So he's just, like, such a supportive brother and, like, amazing person. So and it's just good to see, like, kind of like a successful career like that, so closely, and to see all the, like, negative sides too, you know, like,
You can often certainly learn a lot more from the stuff that goes wrong than the stuff that goes easily.
I knew what I was getting myself into, like, more so than maybe somebody who hasn't seen it so close. Otherwise it just kind of looks like this, you know, thing up on a pedestal, and it is, but it does have some, like, harder sides too.
Am I correct in remembering I read somewhere that you guys were in a family band as kids?
Oh yeah, like a really silly family band. I mean, it wasn't. We tried. We did, like, Battle of the Bands, and it was fun. It was like, so my sister, my brother, my two cousins, and then we had another guitar player and another drummer. But it was just, like, silly, and we'd tour around, and yeah, it was fun.
Where'd you guys grow up, by the way? Where were you doing that?
I grew up in just, like, outside of Medicine Hat, Alberta. Yeah.
I guess come by country, honestly, then in that case.
Totally. Like, I grew up on a bison and cattle ranch, and that's what my parents still do for a living. They're in livestock, and yeah, like, when I go home, it is like a throwback, kind of. Like, you just go back, and my dad's like, all right, well, I'm going to go and feed the cattle. Yeah. You know, so that was the way I grew up, in, like, horses and all the animals, like, so many animals around us, and lots of chores, and and music.
Was showbiz both for you and your brother, I guess, ever, like, just how shocked are your parents that they had two showbiz kids?
I know. I think it's very weird for them, because they're not, like, my dad was in, like, a band when he was younger, and he still plays music, but, like, not professionally or anything like that. But it's so funny, because we started lessons so young. Like, I was 4 years old when I started violin and piano and guitar and singing. And my mom now is like, why couldn't you be a doctor? I'm like, Mom, you set me up for this. Like, this is all I did my whole childhood. But they're, like, super supportive. And I think they think it's, like, crazy. Like, sometimes I get a text from my dad, and he'll be like, what is your life? Like, what are you doing right now? I'm like, I don't know.
And lastly here, or getting near the end at least, is, okay, I think you're the first person I've talked to that exists in both the world of streaming video, like streaming film and TV, and streaming music. And there's constant debate over what streaming has done, for better or worse, to artists of all kinds. So you kind of have a unique perspective here, being on kind of both sides of the streaming paradigm, like I said, film and TV and music. I just want to get your perspective on that. Has streaming affected actors in a different way, for better or worse, than it's affected musical artists, for better or worse?
I think streaming has helped actors, because there's just so much more content. I mean, like, there's so many TV shows, and a lot, I think, I mean, maybe I'm, like, ignorant by saying this, but I feel like more people are working now. And I mean, it's definitely helped me, because, you know, both my shows are on Netflix, and streaming is a huge part of that. As far as music, I feel like it is, like, helped and hurt. You know, I'm sure it's hurt a lot of the writers and the way people get paid. But it also helps a young artist get heard more. You know, people can discover more people. So I don't know exactly, like, where it's all going, and I hope that they, like, find a way to compensate everybody for their work. But for me right now, I'm just trying to, like, use it and have more people discover me.
Did you see that impact in Nashville? Because Nashville is one of the few places that it's, like, literally has just a songwriting industry as a major part of its economic driver. And because of I've done some reporting on kind of the economics of streaming, where the money's going, how it's being divided, and it has changed that equation. It's put it more in favor of the labels versus the publishers and songwriters than, it's a more one-side, like, the labels, for good reason, and I won't get into it all, I've always got a bigger slice of the pie, but it's now even more one-sided than it used to be. I don't know how much you would have seen or talked about this while you're in Nashville, but from your time there, have you seen that that impact in Nashville's songwriting industry?
Yeah, I know like a lot of my friends talk about that. I think they're starting to do like, we're starting to make small gains to like maybe even it out a little bit. But we've got a long way to go. But it is like that, if people want music, somebody's got to write it. And that has to be like a full-time job. I don't think you can really songwrite like part-time. You know, it has to be like every day you work at it. So those people need to be paid because that's what we all love to listen to, you know?
Can't not agree with that. Yeah. And so we're going to wrap it up. But first, any Netflix recommendations? What should we be watching?
Okay, I just finished hold on, let me just think here. What was the show I just watched? Oh, I just finished The Sinner, which... I haven't seen that one. Oh, it's really good. Okay. I thought it was really good. And then I just finished Dr. Foster and Wanderlust. Have you guys seen those?
No, I haven't seen any of these.
Those Dr. Foster and Wanderlust are British shows. I'm really like into British TV. Okay, and then The Sinner is just like, I binged it in like 2 days. Okay. Yeah. Right on. And Travelers. Yes.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, thanks so much. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for doing it. The 2 songs, Drive Through and About You, are out this Friday. Will be out by the time people see this. Check it out on the streaming services and everywhere else. And keep a lookout. And I think this is my 3rd time asking you, when's the next pair of songs and the ones after that?
February. Yeah.
And so, Mackenzie Porter, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.